The Tales of Ise was greatly attractive to me because it's what they call Ise Monogatari, which means poem tales. And poem tales are tales of which the focus is poems. So many of the Tales of Ise, there's 125 in total, and the text itself is very short, but the chapters are very short because they're often even only just a few sentences. But they introduce some important poem or set of poems. And some of the poems appeared originally in another famous poetry collection called the Kokinshu, and with a different preface. Because in those days, when the poetry collections were made, they often put a preface as to when this poem was written and what was the occasion. But in the Tales of Ise, they create a fictional set of circumstances, which is very often very different. So they're remaking the poem and putting it in a new context. So it's a fascinating concept. And I love the idea of remaking. It's very, very attractive to me in all of the things that I do. As a printmaker, I remake Hokusai prints, and to me the idea of remaking is very Japanese, but it's also very interesting and fascinating. And the Tales of Ise is like that. But the beauty of it to me was that it captured this very, very extraordinarily beautiful world of the court in the 9th century, and also based around the central figure of Ariwara no Narihira. And he himself is an extremely attractive figure too. And so I thought that if I could translate this work, I would learn a great deal of things more about the foundations of Japanese aesthetics, but also would be a great pleasure to try and render these exquisite poems into English. The Tales of Ise was written over a period of approximately 100 years, and it's still very difficult to make definite assertions as to who wrote exactly what. Although the main theory now is that Ariwara no Narihira wrote the core of it, and then it was added on to by many poets throughout the following generations. We can't say definitely about the authorship, but we can say that part of it we think was written by Ariwara no Narihira. Despite that, the book has a great unity, and I say unity of tone and theme, and throughout it, even though it was written over 100 years, we can still get the sense of the life of one person through it, and a very, very broad understanding of Japanese aesthetics and the exquisite beauty that is celebrated in the world when we read the book. So Miyabi then is an aesthetic form of the Heian period, and it's very, very important. And one of the key features is mono no aware, or the passing of things, the fragility of things. And this was seen especially in the cherry blossoms and their hakanasa. In Japanese it's called hakanasa, the fragility, evanescence. But in the actual Tales of Ise itself, the word Miyabi only appears in the first chapter. And here it describes not so much the aesthetics as the behavior of the hero, Ariwara no Narihira. And it refers to beautiful and elegant behavior in love, which means the ability to write and express beautiful poems, and the ability to show true love to each of the many ladies that he is with. The sense of place is actually very, very important in the Tales of Ise. And the sense of place is very important in Japanese classical literature in general. And they have what they call these meisho, or utamakara, which celebrate the different places. And I created some maps actually at the end of the book to show just how many names are invoked and celebrated because of the names. So, for example, we have here, just looking now, let's see. We have Yoshino, right? So just the mention of the name Yoshino, that in itself would indicate the cherry blossoms. But it's not only the cherry blossoms, because Yoshino was famous as a place for watching snow. So poems about snow, cherry blossoms, or even the confusion between was it snow or was it cherry blossoms, these kind of poems would be truly celebrated and loved by the Japanese of the period. But it has great meaning and resonance to them because it's based in Yoshino, which would be, the former capital, a kind of ancillary capital for a short period of time, and very dear to the heart of all the Japanese of the classical world. And so there are many, many, many names which are celebrated. And I think place is extremely important in Japanese literature. And I think living here myself for some 30 years has been very, very important for me in understanding the Japanese mentality and how Japanese people communicate with each other, and also the depth of the culture, but also traveling to these places and seeing these places and imagining how they moved the people of ancient times has been a very, very important part of the translation process.